Hello and welcome to the Tabernacle Project podcast. And today we have a special guest, Jake Juval, aka Jacob is here. This is a special podcast because we are all together in Toronto, currently observing the Feast of Tabernacles. Today we talk about Israelite tolerance with other nations and spiritual groups. Enjoy. Let me just start off. What about everybody say hi? What y'all want to say to the people? Chris?
What's going on, you guys? It's Chris here. It's good to be here, man. It's good to be back. I'm here in Toronto. We're currently out here in Toronto. Great to be out here and see our family out here.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, happy to be on another episode for the podcast and looking forward to the discussion today. So,
Jeremiah?
Yeah, it's Jeremiah. We're up here in Toronto. My first time coming up for the Tabernacle Project, so I'm glad to be on the podcast.
And last but not least, Jacob.
What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here. Glad I could be a part of the show. Very honored and privileged, and I'm looking forward to today's discussion.
Now let's get into it. There is a negative perception on groups that have Israelite in their name, making many people believe that Israelites are racist. I want you all to clarify our stance on that.
at the Israelite Nation, we believe that anybody that wants to praise our God and serve our God is more than welcome to, as long as, they understand sort of who his children are, who his people are, and sort of the laws that he has put in place for us. Anyone that wants to serve our God in the fashion that he's supposed to be served, of course, can do so, I think the only thing is that to do that, you have to know an Israelite, right? But no, so to answer your question, we are not racist to any group of people.
Yeah, to add to that, we're mainly based on truth, right? So yes, we do talk a lot about the Israelites were black, but that's the truth, right? So obviously we're going to identify who these people are,
right?
No matter what color they wear, right? It doesn't matter if they're white, black, brown, whatever. We identify who they are, just because I feel there's a lot of misrepresentation of just Bible characters, right? So it's almost as a tool to make you feel degraded, like you're not important,
right?
So when they show us these images of white this, white that, it's kind of like a tool used to oppress. So we're not against white people, it's we're against the lie that's being told, and the lie that is being told is these characters were not our skin color, didn't look like us. We're just going based off truth.
Right.
But we're not racist. We have nothing against, we're not, we don't discriminate. We, like Jeffrey said, we're willing to accept anyone as long as they, abide by the rules, the law, statutes, commandments. Even, you read the scriptures, it says, King Solomon, if any stranger comes from a land far or near, because they hear of thy wondrous works, hear their prayer, right? So that goes right there to show that there are going to be other people who's going to want to be a part of this family, who's going to want to serve the true and living God, and why not?
Right.
I mean, it's the true and living God, of course.
Of course, yeah.
People are going to say, well, wow, that's the God, okay, I want to come serve him, no matter what he looks like.
Right.
No, that's a long answer, but sum it up, no, we're not racist, we're based on truth, and I think I touched on everything for that.
That is a great answer, both of you guys. Who wants to follow up? Chris?
Definitely ditto what everybody was saying. We are based in truth. It's really just it's about. It's funny, you think about these things. You think about even like you go to Egypt. You see like they as soon as they raided it, the first thing they did, they destroyed the noses and they defaced the statues just to kind of create this rhetoric that these people, this specific type of people weren't here. They didn't create these these huge monuments here, and it shows a lot, and it shows testament to just the power of where you come from. But again, it's about truth at the end of the day. It's about where your heart is, and where do you want to, where your obligations are, where you're willing to put aside. Are you willing to? Is that going to be the determining factor? Because the Almighty God is a black man. Is that going to be the fact that you don't want to serve him because of that? I think it shows a lot about that person's character if they put that aside and they're just like, the truth says this, and this is what I want to do in my life.
Well, no, we're not racist towards white people, because I think that the God of Israel looks at the spirit first of all. So he's not gonna just not listen to you because you're white or yellow, green, purple. It doesn't matter. It depends on where your heart is and if you love the God of Israel.
Something else I want to ask everybody. When people think that we're racist against white people, I always think about the story of Cornelius, you know? Like the one, you know, the centurion from Italy was given, you know, dreams and stuff to go straight to Peter. And, you know, he was brought into us just because he loved the God of Israel. He wanted to serve the God of Israel. And that's the bottom line for, to just be Israelite, you must serve and follow all statutes and commandments of the God of Israel.
Right.
It's pretty simple.
And also just to add to that too, you know, we have to consider that, you know, there was, you know, this idea of race and black and white and whatever is kind of like new in terms of, you know, if we look at our history, we've been oppressed by people who were black, you know what I'm saying? So in that situation, you know, we would have to understand specifically that even within your own race of being black, there's still not a unison idea of culture or values or whatever, right? So even within that kind of emphasize the fact, as Jeremiah was saying, it's not really based on what you look like or the color of your skin, but more so, you know, the God that you serve and the truth that you stand for, you know. So.
Okay. Does anybody got anything to add on to that question?
No, if you're a part of it, you can't be an Israelite unless you're a part of Israel. It's all about being a part of the sheepfold at the end of the day. It's not necessarily about, you know, when our God, it says in the scriptures, when our God looks at us and what we do collectively as a nation, he looks at us as, he calls us our son. He says, that's my son. He looks at us as one person, not, you know, my son plus that, you know, that white guy over there. Like, it's a collective. You're part of the sheepfold, you're a part of the sheepfold.
That was great. That's great. So my next question is, should we be tolerant of other groups? You know, like, if they pushing their, you know, they're always pushing their philosophies and their, you know, beliefs down our throats. But should we be like tolerant of their, you know, of doing that? You know,
tolerant in the sense of like not speaking against it, or tolerant in the sense of like, I guess like what do you define as being tolerant? I guess.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, the most famous example you see. The Egyptians around, you know, our old land in Jerusalem and Israel, they always fight each other because of religious reasons. And like get the holy wars with Muslim and Christians. It's because they're Muslim Christian, that's why they fight.
Right.
So it's true, you know what I'm saying? Like, should we be tolerant of another person's beliefs just because the Muslim, Hebrew Israelite, Christian Israelite?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of have to. I mean, you know, I think, one, to understand that we are living in a land that's not ours, and we are in a society that is not necessarily, like, we are the minority, you know, so it would, not only is it the smart thing to do, but I think it's also just, you know, how are you going to live your life? How are you going to be able to function in society if you can't be tolerant of those that are not only the majority, but then different than you, you know? So I think, and also, you know, I think if we look back to some of our previous enslavements, we can kind of see examples of this. So if we look back at even the enslavement of Babylon, Jeremiah has to tell the people, look, when you go into this land, make friends, go get a job, go still have kids, whatever you're going to do, because you're going to be there for a while. So if you try your hardest to, you know, fight the system and sort of not be tolerant of other people, you're going to have a hard time there for you, and it's going to be harder for you, you know? So at the end of the day, it's not so much being tolerant for other people's sake, it's more so being tolerant, my opinion, just for the idea that you have to live and survive, and you have to be able to function, you know, so.
Yeah, another good point to add to that, you look at the building of the temple, right? Solomon used outsiders.
True.
Right? So they didn't serve the same God as him, right? But he still made acquaintances with, you know, his neighbors or whatnot. So yeah, you be respectful, right? You don't have to. We're not radical. We don't put a gun to your head and say, you know, do this or die, convert or die. No, we give choices, and that's one of the beauties of life. Is you have those choices, right? You're presented with option A and option B, and you can take whatever option you want to take. We're not here to, you know, force anything,
Right.
right? So we have to be respectful for it, respectful towards their beliefs, just like what he said. You know, we're in a land that's not ours. We can't go against the grain and try to fight the system. And you know, that's not our. You got to remember, we're here for a reason too. This is part of our punishment, right? So when you're kind of fighting against, the God of Israel in a sense, because he's put all this together. He
Right.
said, this is where you're going to be until it's time that I take you out.
Right,
and then
right.
you'll have your great substance.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're here, but you just got to make do of what we have, but at the same time without stepping on any toes.
Yeah.
Right. So
And I think just to add to that too, on the other flip side of that, we're also not saying to love everybody, right? Because even that would be the extreme too, right? So there's the idea that you can be respectful of someone, and sort of any other extreme emotion you have, whether it be hate or love, has to be based on facts and how it's going to benefit you as a people. If it benefits me as or us as a people to love this group here or be respectful of this group, then we will. But if it doesn't benefit us, there's no sense in us loving this group or loving these people whatsoever, right? So again, I just wanted to say that, you know, both extremes can result in bad consequences if not done properly, you know.
yeah, you obviously got to find that
Balance.
that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to find a middle ground. Because we're in the world, but we're not of the world.
Right.
So, you know, I'm not going to partake in your Christmas parties.
Right.
You know what I mean? But how do you tell without it being disrespectful?
Right.
I'm not going to attend your Christmas dinner. I'm sorry. You know what I
Right,
mean? So you gotta you gotta tread carefully sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can take it as disrespect, or they can just whatever, let them do this thing.
Right.
With my experience, I find sometimes it goes kind of both ways.
Mm.
Sometimes they'll take it. Oh, you don't want my sweater I bought for you.
Right.
I paid good money for this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
But you didn't ask them about the sweater, didn't you?
yeah, you didn't ask them, but you know, it's they're in their mind, it's
Right.
just the season of giving, right? You
Right,
gotta
right.
give,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're not allowing them to do that because you're saying, hey, I don't want
Right.
your Christmas sweater. You know what I mean? But yeah, you just gotta find that balance, like what Jeffrey said. You gotta find the middle ground.
Bouncing off what Jacob said, I think you have to find a balance within yourself and the things that you do.
I got you. Does anybody got anything more to add to that? No? Okay, cool. So,
Oh, what I was gonna add, sorry, is
Sure.
you are respectful towards it, but you don't let it alter your you don't let it change who you are.
That's a good point, yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm with my friends right now, and you know they're doing whatever, and I'm in the midst of it. But I can't let that, just because I'm tolerating it or I'm respectful towards it,
Right.
allow that to change who I am or what I do.
Right.
Right. So you got to be really strong
Yeah.
and remember who you are as an Israelite, and not allow that respect or whatever to turn into following.
Right.
Right.
Definitely.
I think that's like one of the punishments we have, Like, we always be put in those tough situations, like turning down like somebody's bar mitzvah, or you know what I'm saying, like a Christmas party or something like that. Like, we're always in those awkward situations. I think that's kind of part of the punishment. Like, when we fall into peer pressure, we don't make a test.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a part of it, man. I think it's
it's I don't even think it's a part of the curse, honestly. I just think it's just
Life.
a part of being an
life.
Israelite.
Yeah.
Really, it's something. I don't think me personally, I don't think you're giving anything if you cannot protect it or you can't defend it.
Mm-hmm.
And the name Israelite in itself is like a heavy name to have. And you can't just walk around and just receive blessings. You gotta, like we talked about it before, off the mic, we were saying that what was the phrase? Without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely, the work is necessary. You gotta work. If you want it, you gotta get it. You cannot. Nothing is free in this world. If anybody has ever told you that anything is free, nothing is free. It's either you have certain types of people. It's either you have an initial deposit, you're gonna have to pay later, or you're gonna have to make installments in life, but you're gonna have to pay with anything in life. So I just think it's a part of the territory. It comes with the territory, man.
So my next question is, how should we react against groups disrespecting us?
Oh boy.
Because I remember, I'm gonna tell you like a quick story.
Yeah.
When I was younger, like in 3rd grade, I was eating lunch, right? And then this one dude, he decided to put ham in my lunchbox. So, Jamal heard this before. So, I'm friends with the dude now. But at that recess, right after we got our lunch, we would just say an altercation. In layman's terms. An altercation. And that's how I dealt with it when I was younger. But of course I'm wiser now.
Yeah.
There's other ways you can sue people, you know what I'm saying? So,
It's all about. I think it's like even in this day and age, it's so difficult because when people you talk about like you have words like culture and you have words like religion. I don't even like using the word religion honestly, but you have things like that and people think that's kind of like offshore to your real life. But as Israelites, it's not. It's all in the same. It's all in the same. You know, the name Israelite is kind of similar to like a bowl, and then everything that's outside of that is kind of whether or not it could fit inside that. I don't know if I'm using the right analogy. I don't know if I'm coming across correctly, but it's a lifestyle that you live. It's the way that I live my life. So disrespecting my culture is equivalent to disrespecting me. And you know, as a man, you can't be going around people disrespecting you. You gotta definitely, again, I reiterate, you gotta fight for what you not even fight, but you know, there's a certain level of respect that people gotta have. Like you cannot. Nah, man, it's not tolerable.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like in terms of like exactly what to do, I think that depends on the situation. But I think, you know, it's really about. I mean, I guess that old saying like, treat people, respect people the same way that you want to be treated too. And I think you should have demand that same kind of respect in return too. And so I don't think necessarily, if someone were to, you know, be disrespectful of sort of your culture. Again, it would really depend on the case, but again, as long as you yourself are conducting yourself in a manner that is one, representing your culture and your values in a good light, and two, I think still understanding sort of the dynamics of how you live. So for example, I'll give you an example real quick. In time of slavery, right, of course people disrespected us tremendously, right, and disrespected us. There's even a story, if you can remember, back when we were enslaved, or at least oppressed by the Roman Empire, there was a time when they used to purposely make us eat pork and stuff like that. And even during slavery here in the Americas, there are times or stories that are similar to that as well. But there was only a certain amount of sort of pushback that we could give, you know. So I think, as was stated earlier, thinking about sort of what the purpose of sort of your state is. So for example, in a state of oppression, we know that is a punishment from our God. So therefore we know, you know, we have to be able to be aware of that and say, how can I best function in society? So therefore, if I may want to retaliate because of that disrespect, but that may not allow me to function in society as best as I possibly can, if that makes sense, you know? And so I think, again, it just depends on the case, depends on the state. But at the end of the day, I think in your own individual lives, you want to demand the same kind of respect that you give to people. You want to demand the same amount of respect in return, if that makes sense.
I mean, there's two ways you can deal with it. You can brush it off, let it be, or you can obviously retaliate, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, you don't want to make a situation escalate where it doesn't need to go. Mm-hmm. But how I see it, I mean, I'm just talking, everybody handles it differently. Mm-hmm. You know, Jeffrey can handle it a different way from Chris. You know, I mean, I can handle it a different way from Jeremiah. I'm just speaking on a personal level here. I mean, how I handle it is I don't let the little things faze me. I mean, we're in a land where if I do the wrong thing or it can be taken as a hate crime or mm-hmm. or you know, potentially lead to something else where, you know, I'm getting arrested or something. Unnecessary, right? So when little things like that, as long as there's no one's putting hands on me or, you know, I mean, they can say whatever they want, like whatever. I don't really, like, I don't answer to you at the end of the day. Right. You're not in any authority position to me. So I mean, yeah, sure, you don't have to agree with what I do, whatever. You can disrespect me. You can say whatever you want. That's fine. I don't really. I'm not concerned about what that are bigger. Better things to be worried about, rather than getting your approval of my culture or my lifestyle, right? I don't need their approval. That's how I see it anyways. As long as I'm not being harmed in any way,
or my family,
or my family, or, you know, there's no threats being made, then we're fine. But hey, man, it's all how you handle it, right? Everyone's different. For me personally, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Like I said, if it doesn't put me or anyone that I love in danger, people say what they want to say and whatever. You know what I mean? So you gotta at the end of the day paint a picture of yourself as you're the bigger person always. Mm-hmm. So you always gotta be able to walk out of that situation saying, oh, I was the more mature. Right. And then, you know, maybe along the way that respect will develop for you. Where like, okay, well, you know, I admire something about this guy. Right. He's very, you know, collective. he's very he thinks before he acts, things like that.
Right.
So in that respect, maybe if it's not there initially, it's bound to come along the way.
Right.
If you maintain that.
And there's a scripture that we read a couple of days ago, actually, Psalms 112, and speaks about again how an Israelite man carries himself. There's a certain level of composure, discretion, discipline that the Israelite man has. I think that's very important. Like even in the face of adversity, you have to be able to use discretion and your own sort of wisdom to know when and when not to use different actions. So as Jacob was saying, you never want to make something escalate unnecessarily. At the same time, as an Israelite man, you still want to demand, again, the same amount of respect back that you give.
And sometimes it's not even outside. Sometimes you're being disrespected by your own people. Right? Where you're my brethren and you're disrespecting me. Like, it's very, you got to use discretion.
Yeah.
Like I said, always try to come out the bigger person and try to be like, I made the right choices.
Right.
That's the only way you can really, it's all discretion, like Jeffrey was saying, but there's no right answer to it, right? There's no, this is the answer, this is how you do it, right? Yeah. Some people will walk away and some people will stand there and be like, no, you don't talk to me that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? The end result can be two different, right? So I always try to think of the end result first. Like I can say this to that guy and it can escalate where, whatever, or I can just be like, all right, well, you have a good day, sir.
And then,
and
I don't get to do it with you again.
Whatever.
Ever in my life,
So at the end of the day, I only live to please my Father, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, and that's really it. If I know that I'm not doing anything wrong or I'm carrying myself, we're supposed to be a royal priesthood unto we're supposed to be the light, we're the salt of the earth. That means we're supposed to set the example, right? So if someone looks at you and like, oh, the way he's behaving is nasty, and what example are you setting?
Right. So
that's
right. What's that saying? Like, if you're wise, you don't argue with fools. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even in your nature to even try to.
Yeah, it's like you got to stoop
yourself.
down a whole level almost sometimes.
Right.
It's like, I'm not even. Live life, be merry, man. That's just. I'm not trying to. That's petty stuff. I don't.
I got you. Understand. Well, okay. So my next question is, in other businesses and other nations, that the push recently is trying to be more diverse. Do you think it's important for the Israel Nation War Ministries to show how diverse it is?
As was stated before, I think it's more important to focus on truth and let truth speak for itself and sort of let people that want truth flock to it. So I think it's important that we don't restrict people. I think that's the most important thing to say that we don't want this group of people or this group of people. That would be wrong. But at the same time, to kind of say, hey, look, we're open to anybody, whatever race, whatever man, woman, you know what I'm saying? That if you want to praise the true living God in a state of spirit and truth, then we will definitely be here for that specifically. But again, I don't think it's necessarily a mission to have a certain percentage of this group. And you know what I'm saying? I think that's not necessarily the goal. But again, just to say, look, anyone that wants to serve the true living God can do so through the Israelite nation,
Yeah, there's like what you said, the key word you said there was business. This is not a business.
Right, it's a life.
Right? We're not recruiting people, we're not hiring people and trying to get different ethnicities and background to say, anyone could. Yeah, this is not a business. Like what Jeffrey said, it's truth. We're putting the message out there, is whether you receive it or not. We don't care what you look like. If you receive the message, you can come through the gates and be a part of this family.
Right.
It's not about we have this percentage is this ethnicity and this percentage is that has no relevance. That's irrelevant to me, right? Because it's like what Jeffrey said. It's about truth. It's the key word. Like I said, it's not business. This is not a business. So but I get where you're going with that. Is like you want to appeal to everybody, right? But
like sometimes some people, like white people, Caucasians, they might be finding it as more like intimidating,
Yeah, but that would be their. That's almost like their problem,
right? That goes to show your character. Like if you really want
truth,
then you would look past that. You wouldn't be concerned with majority of people in here are black people.
Right. Well, think about how many instances we go into on a regular basis. Whether school, work, whatever. Everybody is not us, you know what I'm saying? And we still have to deal and function. So it only makes sense that in a environment of black Israelites or like Israelites, that you would not be the majority, you know what I'm saying? So so it's just that's just
right.
You're a minority now.
Right. I mean, and again, not in a way that's to be malicious or anything, but again, that's just facts, that's just truth, you know.
Right.
So, and if that's important to you, if truth is important to you, you'll look past all of that, you know. So, and we have examples of that. So,
In Atlanta, like when we first walk in, we have like these pictures
right.
of historical figures. I mean, you guys seen them when you was in there. I think 3 of them are like, we have like John Brown.
Yeah.
And we have like other like, we have like 6 pictures and like half of them white guys and half of them black people. And I was asking the branch leader there, Minister Donna, Minister Donna. And I was like, why can't we ever like put the other people like, you know, Malcolm X or anything? Like, she was like, nah, I mean, to show that, you know, we're more open. You know, because some people just, they don't like, you know, some people don't even listen to the podcast, you know. Some people just looking from the outside, you know. So as soon as they've seen it, walking in, okay, they might feel more comfortable, be more open, you know, because some people might be, you know, have the guard up, might not be listening to people.
Well, I think it's important in this day and age because we have the name Israelite. So from that perspective, I can see what you mean, where because other groups call themselves Israelites and are definitely racist, you know, I think for us to stand out and say, look, we're not that group, it is important, again, not to recruit, but to just have people understand this is how we're different. Right. We recognize that white people have even aided us in trying to get freedom, aided us in trying to even get this far to be able to attain the truth. You know what I'm saying? So I think in that sense, I see where it would be beneficial, as you stated, to kind of just make it clear to people who may be interested in Israel. But at the same time, I don't think it's of importance to recruit or to try to recruit a certain percentage of any race or anything like that. Because again, your main selling point, so to speak, is truth. You know.
Right.
Okay. Does anybody else got anything to add to that?
I think that was.
Nobody's getting paid here.
Yeah.
Nobody gets no paychecks.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's bigger than that. It's not nothing material. It's a very spiritual thing. And to reiterate what Jacob was saying, you know, we're a holy people. We're part of the holy priesthood. So definitely the truth is I feel like it's the theme of this whole podcast. Is, you know, is seeing the truth. I mean, I understand, you know, the whole, you know, creating an environment where people feel comfortable enough to receive the truth. You know, we want to, you know, create a space where people feel comfortable enough to receive it. Because some people will be, they'll come and then, you know, you never know. That could be the guy who, I don't know, could be, you never know what people's roles can be in the nation. So, you know, you definitely want to have the doors open enough so they can feel comfortable enough to receive it and not have a guard up. And then we lose somebody because of something so minuscule, you know?
Like, I
was gonna say, like, just what Chris was saying is you want them to be receptive to what you have to say, right? So you kind of have to sometimes kind of water it down. Not really water it down, but you kind of have to make it appealing to everybody.
Be political. You have to be political.
You gotta be political, really and truly. But you gotta make it in a way where they want to receive what you're hearing. If you're just very there's a lot of segregation, like, you know, black people with this and black people with that, black people, yeah, great, okay. But we're not talking about color, we're talking about the truth, right? We're talking about the God, the creator, right? So when you look at it that way, I mean, a lot of groups out there, they will point out, you know, you're white, you're this, you're that, you're not us. Okay, that's great. But there's been a lot of instances where people who weren't Israelites were very beneficial. Like, you look at the story of Uriah, right? He was in David's army. That was like Job's go-to guy. Yeah. I mean, sorry, not Job. Joab's go-to guy, right? He wasn't an Israelite though, right? So you don't. That's how I see it. Like I said, the door is open to anyone who's willing to receive, but we have to put it in a way where they would want to receive it, right? Where it's we're still sticking to the truth, right? But we're not making it an exclusive thing where it's just only black people, right? Where it's all nations, come one, come all. You know what I mean? That's how I see it.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so my next question is, so this is more like a PR thing, right? And we talked about it last night. Like, what should we do when like something really bad happens to like another nation? You know, like the hurricanes or like a terrorist attack. You know, like, should we say, like, because when we see other groups and organizations, it'd be like, I send my thoughts and prayers out, you know, send condolences, don't say nothing, or like, they deserved it. Like, what do you think?
Again, what I was saying, like, you gotta be politically correct, right? So you gotta.
Yeah, I mean, like, what good comes out of saying good for you? Like what
Yeah.
good comes out of saying
Serve you right.
exactly like you deserve that? That's not going to benefit me any which way. It's not going to affect me even if I say good. Like that doesn't benefit me, or if I say like what I'm saying. So I think to look at making decisions based on, don't make decisions that you haven't thought through, and to say, okay, how is this going to affect me and my people, right? So as a nation, we have to be able to politically state something that's going to be able to push us in a good direction and to have good relations with those who are around us. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, if I'm gonna teach about my God, right? I'm gonna teach you about my God. Number one, you just gotta think of just you as a person. If someone is very hostile towards me, I'm not gonna want to go into their house and listen to what they have to say about anything, right? So if I'm saying, yeah, good for you, serves you right, good. How are they gonna feel now where it's come now? Now you gotta go and teach them about your God. They're not gonna want to hear what you have to say just because of that whole the attitude towards them, right? So you gotta really like what Jeffrey's saying. Does that do you any good to say serves you right, or it doesn't? At the end of the day, we're all living on this earth, right? So we're all neighbors if you really look at it that way, right? I mean, even though they may not serve the same God at the end of the day, the strife, you don't need to be at odds. You know what I mean?
For no kind of reason.
Yeah. I mean,
unless, and again, we have to look at history too, right? And even in our history, unless it's been our God that has said, do such and such to this people, or this is why I'm doing it to this people, we're not inherently going to be negative towards other people. You know what I'm saying? Again, unless it affects us as a nation, us as a group, as a family, or again, if our God instructs us to do something. But besides that would not affect us or benefit us in any way to negatively comment on something or a disaster that occurs to another group of people.
What you think, Jeremiah?
I like both of their points. I think we should be we should be political, but at the same time be connected to our spiritual life. Our main priority is be staying connected to the God of Israel. So if we're doing stuff that's not even doing stuff to people that's not even has nothing to do with the God of Israel or nothing, how is that benefiting us in that way? I'm talking about.
I think where he's going with that is, have empathy and sympathy towards it, but don't compromise who you are because of it. I think that's where he's kind of going with it. Don't step out of character. You're supposed to be the authority. You're the chosen people of God. So don't step out of character and be like, oh, serve you devils, right? Right. I mean, I think he's saying that you still keep your integrity, but still you can still sympathize
with other groups.
With other groups. Yeah, I think that's where.
Does anybody else got anything to add? No.
Yeah, and the world is so, because of technology and everything, we're like a community. Like it's an international community, really. Right. So anything that happens here is going to affect here. Anything that happens, right. So if God forbid, something happens, where there's, I don't know, a catastrophe here, and we need a helping hand from somebody, and they're like, well, weren't you the same people who said serves you right? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't benefit you, right? Like,
especially now we're in a state of oppression, and what I'm saying, we're trying to grow. That wouldn't be smart for any group trying to make progress.
Right.
That's just not a smart move, So
because we're not completely independent. Yeah. We still need resources and things we can't provide for ourselves. Right. But we need others to provide for us.
Right.
So if you sometimes the saying was, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Right. I mean, not saying to step down and put your tail between your legs, but you got to be smart and understand that you're trying to grow a nation, and you can't do that if you're at odds with other nations.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, that's great. Well, that's it for the podcast today. I hope. Well, just remember to like, share, and subscribe. And good night.